Hi, I'm Paris, and the one thing I've found that's helped most with going through my chemotherapy sessions is fasting the day before my infusions. Now, this isn't for everyone. I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you anecdotally what my experience has been. However, I did see online that the Mayo Clinic is running a clinical trial testing out this exact kind of thing. Researching online how to reduce the side effects of chemo, I found a number of people who mentioned fasting for a day. Some people did it for 2 days before having the infusion. Make some changes to your body that really helps a lot. So I'll explain to you why people think it helps and my experience with it. And I'll also link down below this video to that clinical trial that the Mayo Clinic is running. I wish it were done already so I could get the results, but I figured I'm going to go ahead and do it because it made a lot of sense to me that it could help. And with my experience, the very first infusion I had, it was without any preparation or fasting. It was just going in completely not knowing what to expect and having that experience. But I learned about the fasting option and have done that. My next 3 infusions, I have 2 more left to go, and it has really made a big difference. So first of all, the theory on why fasting before your infusion might help you. And by the way, my infusion is with Taxotere, also called Docetaxel. So I don't know, that it may depend on the chemo you're having, how much this may help as well. But I think most chemotherapy works the same way. It gets into your body and targets fast dividing cells, which are what cancer cells are, and so it catches them in a certain phase of their division and kills them, and that's a good thing. However, your body naturally has a number of fast dividing cells as well, and when they get caught right at that moment by the chemo, they also get killed off. And probably most side effects of chemo are caused by what happens to your body when you kill off a bunch of those cells at once. In my particular case, the white blood cell count has been a big issue. I have to do Neulasta, which is a bone marrow stimulant that gets it producing more white blood cells. After my first infusion, my white blood cell count went to 0. I also have moderate anemia. It's gotten pretty bad, which is red blood cells being killed off and not forming and regrowing fast enough before the next infusion, which knocks them back down. Of course, lots of digestive, intestinal issues, dry skin, hair falling out. Well, you probably know the drill. So the thinking is that historically, there have been times of famine for humans, and when your body doesn't have any nutrients for a period of time, it goes into a sort of maintenance mode. Rather than let's make new cells, it's hey, let's just keep things as they are until we can get some more food. So this is, as I understand it, your body will send out a signal when you haven't had any nutrition for some period of time that puts your body into a lower state of metabolism. And one effect of that message sent out all over your body is let's not do so much cell dividing because we don't have any nutrition coming in right now to support it. So when you go and have your infusion, not as many of your cells are going to be in that state where they'll be killed off by it. What about the cancer cells? Don't they get the message that there's no food right now, and don't they put a pause on things? No, as I understand it, they're not capable of putting a pause on that fast dividing. That's sort of their signature move, and they can't stop doing it even when you are fasting. So you do your fasting, your body sends out the signal, let's slow down the cell division, you get the chemo, it still finds the cancer cells dividing quickly and catches a number of them at the right spot, is able to kill them off, while it has less effect on your good cells in your body. Makes sense, right? Made sense to me when I read about people having these good experiences, well, the reduced side effects at least, after having fasted before their infusion, and the explanation for why it was happening. I thought, yeah, that makes an awful lot of sense. So what has my experience been with fasting before chemo? Pretty darn good, really. Quite a noticeable difference. Now, I fast for the better part of 40 hours before chemo, so I don't have anything the day before chemo, and I also stop eating by 8 p.m. because I usually don't eat after 8 p.m. at night and don't eat till 10 in the morning. That's my regular pattern. So 2 days before chemo, I have my regular lunch, breakfast, dinner, stop at 8 p.m., don't eat anything the next morning, no lunch, no dinner, go through the night, and then I usually do the chemo in the late morning. So it's generally about 40 hours of fasting before the infusion. Then the morning of my infusion, I go into the oncology center and I'm there about 3 to 4 hours, the blood test and the visit about the blood test, and then the steroids and the anti-nausea medication, and then about 1 hour of the actual chemo, and then whatever else they need to give me at the end of that. Then when I go home, I don't eat anything for 6 hours afterwards. Why? Well, I don't think the chemo is only doing stuff while they're actively putting it in you. I think there's probably still some of it running through you for a while afterwards. If I were to, as soon as I got done with the chemo, went to a drive-through and started eating again, well, that's going to send the signal out to the body, I'm guessing, that, okay, we got nutrition again, let's get dividing. So it's possible it would kick that activity back on in my body while there was still chemo floating around, and I really wouldn't get the full benefit. So I fast for 40 hours before, then there's the few hours of the chemo appointment, and then 6 hours afterwards. So in total, it's about a 48-ish hour fast. And again, I did not know anything about this the time of my first infusion. And the day of the infusion wasn't bad because you've got the steroid stuff going on. The next day it starts to get worse, I found. And then after that, let's see, that would be the day of, the next day, and 1, 2, 3 days after that, those were the bad days, and they were pretty bad. But for my second infusion, when I did the fasting beforehand, the day of is still the steroid stuff. Well, actually, it's a little more intensified because without having anything to eat for about 40 hours, I think it's sort of like if you don't eat before you drink, you sort of have an enhanced effect. So I think it has an enhanced effect with the steroids as well, a little bit. And I found that the day after was, stuff started to happen, but it wasn't a really bad day. But then instead of bad days 1, 2, 3, it was only bad days 1, 2. Doesn't mean the third day was great, but I wouldn't qualify it as one of those really bad days after chemo. So it reduced the duration of my side effects by about 30%. It went from 3 days to 2 days of really bad times. And on those 2 days that were still pretty bad, they weren't as bad as they had been after the first infusion without any fasting. I would guess again that the severity of the symptoms was probably reduced about 30% as well. Still extremely unpleasant, but not like, oh my gosh, unpleasant. And after just the second infusion, okay, well, it could have been a coincidence, but after infusion 3, after infusion 4, did the same kind of fasting beforehand, had the same good results afterwards. It's 3 days now till my next infusion. That'll be number 5 of 6, so I'm sort of at my peak, doing real well right now, right before they knock me back down again. But you can bet for my last 2 infusions, I'm going to be doing the fasting beforehand. Now, is it fun to do the fasting? Well, in my experience, no, though that's not a great day when I can't have anything to eat, but it's not a terrible day. I do, of course, still take fluids. I don't want to go in for my infusion and have my veins not in good shape for them to poke me. So I do have sparkling waters, I have teas, I use a little bit of stevia sweetener, but no solid foods, no drinks that have any calories. And again, this I'm sure isn't for everyone. If you're someone that finds yourself losing weight as you're going through chemo, it definitely could be a bad idea. So it's something you want to talk to your doctor about before trying it out first. But the hunger pains, the little bit of discomfort, the maybe grumpiness you get when you don't eat for that period of time is nothing in comparison to having a bad day post-chemo infusion. So you're trading a little bit of discomfort to save yourself a whole lot. Now, do you have to fast for the period of time that I fast, the 48 hours in total? Will a shorter fast do? Will a longer fast give you even better reduction in side effects? That's what the Mayo Clinic is testing out in their clinical trials. They're having people do different periods of fasting to see exactly what effects they get. So if you're interested, you and your doctor will have to decide if it's right for you. But anything that can make chemo more bearable is worth looking into. And I'll see you on the next review.
There are so many choices and you don't want to stress. You want your health food at home, receiving only the best. That's what we're here for, we give honest reviews. Parristx.